Hey, Chris, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love the title of your new book, Outsmart the Money Magicians. And in the book, you talk about money illusions. I want to know if you could explain maybe what some of those illusions are and how they impact people.
Yes, well, there's a multitude of different types of tricks and illusions that are rampant through the finance system. And so, what I'm doing in this book is I'm trying to go behind the scenes and share with the reader, look, if you just know this, then the trick is gone and you don't have to be fooled anymore. And so on one side, you've got systemic things that they create conflicts of interest. It's not really that there's a specific person that is trying to trick anyone. It's just that systemically it is bad for finance. It's bad for the customer. Maybe it's bad for the financial advisor as well. And then on the other side, there are some things where there is a magician who's trying to trick the customer. And I'd love to give a couple examples of those if you think that would be worthwhile.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, well, so on the systemic side, a great example is the quota. So when somebody's going to talk to a financial advisor, oftentimes they're in a system where they have to bring in a certain amount of business. Usually it's in the first few years that they've been hired, and they've got to make these closed business quotas happen or they lose their job. And it's worth it to ask, who benefits from that quota? The client definitely does not benefit. It's not for the client. In fact, it's bad for the client because you might hire a financial advisor and then learn 3 months later that that person has been fired because they didn't meet their quota. And now you have to go through a transition that you didn't want and that you probably don't appreciate. And so then from the financial advisor side, it's definitely not for the financial advisor. It's a huge disconnect between the brokerage and the financial advisor, because what happens is you're in a place of desperation with that looming termination if you don't meet your quota. And so it makes you more vulnerable. And in this new world where there's hardened criminals that can electronically connect with us from all over the globe, that advisor who's vulnerable because she's thinking about, I need to keep my job, she's a little bit more susceptible to a hardened criminal who wants to do money laundering and open up an account that really is illegitimate. And so these things all stem from a systemic norm called the quota. And really the only benefit to the quota is that Wall Street can expect a little bit more profit because they're using bad pressure to bring in the bucks. And so that's a great example of a systemic mismatch. It's just, we can't point to an individual person, but wow, that's got to change. And when you're hiring a financial advisor, if you can ask them, how long have you been with the firm and have you already met your quotas? That's something that you're worried about. That is a great thing to know because you probably need to be aware of it. And for advisors that are dealing with that, I would say they should be aware there's plenty of places on Wall Street where there aren't quotas and where there's a much more respectful approach to how to grow a practice. So that's on the systemic side. On the, hey, there's actually somebody that's trying to trick you side, I think I'm going to go all the way to the top. I have a number of these tricks I could talk about, but I'll go all the way to the top, and let's talk about CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So I'm thinking that most of your listeners, Lacey, they think of CPI, and they think this is what measures inflation. The change in CPI is what we are told regularly is the way to understand how much is inflation affecting us and affecting our lives. And it's a trick. And to think about this, I think we have to go back in time to like our grandparents, when a magician on the stage pointed to someone in the audience and said, hey, you in the red shirt, I choose you to be my volunteer for this trick. Our grandparents were like, okay, great, this is a wonderful show. But everyone today knows, wait a minute, the magician selected the volunteer. We know, we're educated enough to know that we should ask, well, wait, isn't this volunteer just part of the act? And CPI is like that. CPI is part of the act. And here's the way that you know that is because the government has changed the way that we calculate CPI more than 20 times since I've been alive. So how can that index that is designed to track something that changes over years and over the long haul, how can that possibly be an accurate evaluation of inflation if it's constantly getting tinkered with and changed? And then I think it's important to note that the same government that is changing how they calculate CPI, they're also on the hook to use CPI to determine the benefits to a lot of service members, to determine the price increases that they give to benefits like millions of Social Security recipients. So CPI is what determines the raises that the government has to give to a lot of people and their benefit packages. So can we think of any other situation where the person who's in debt gets to control the calculation that monitors how much they have to pay on that debt? No, it doesn't exist. And so this is a situation where we need to look at the CPI as a volunteer in the audience. Like this is somebody who is part of the act. CPI is absolutely part of the act. And there's a great economist who he's famous for 2008. He predicted the financial crisis, Peter Schiff. He's known in many circles on Wall Street for being like an anti-Wall Street fellow. And he did a great experiment that anybody listening right now, they could copy. It's such a simple thing to replicate. And what he did is he said, hey, if CPI really works, then it should accurately show us inflation. Let's double check it. In the age of the internet, we can look these things up. So anyone could go in and they could see the government numbers for CPI, for example, for media and periodicals. So that would be like newspapers and magazines. And what's cool about magazines and newspapers is that they put the price right on the cover. So you can look this up in the images that are on the internet, and that's what Peter did, is he went back for 10 years, and the government stat for that inflation for CPI was 30%. So in 10 years, the cost of magazines went up by 30%. And then he just went on the internet and looked at the actual magazine covers for something like 43 of the most popular magazines and tracked them. And the actual price increase was not 30%, as the government had said. It wasn't 40%. It wasn't 50%. It was over 130%. CPI is a volunteer in the audience. It is not an accurate reflection of inflation. And I think that once we catch on to these kinds of tricks and we're aware that, oh, well, CPI went up this much, yeah, but the government is monkeying around with the way they calculate that so they can keep it low, then it changes our understanding of what we're reading. Thanks for letting me go through all that.
You're welcome. What are some examples, just maybe one, of how they tinker with it?
Sure. So what they'll do is they'll say we're going to overweight this particular economic data in the calculation of inflation, and we're going to underweight the impact of this economic data. So maybe eggs has gone up a lot. Well, then we're going to go ahead and say that farm products, we're underweighting the impact on farm products because they're wanting to keep CPI down. They benefit, the government benefits from a CPI that reflects a small inflation.
I don't think we've ever talked on the show about asking a financial advisor about if they're close to their quota, which is, I think, an amazing question to ask. Does that apply if somebody is fee only? If the advisor that's how they earn their income versus somebody maybe that's commission based?
I think it does, because you can be somebody who doesn't take in commissions at a brokerage firm, and that brokerage firm, all of our nationwide brokerage firms use quotas. And so you can be someone who's not commission based at a nationwide brokerage firm, and you could be nervous about, look, I'll say what I have to say, because I need you to sign on the dotted line here. And really, I'm not holding anything against advisors. I have been an advisor for over 2 decades. I think the vast majority of advisors are good people with excellent ethics, but systemically, a quota is bad for the customer and bad for the advisor, and it's worth it to go ahead and illuminate that and make sure it's clear and on the table.
In your book, you also talk about lifestyle creep. Can you explain what that is, what causes it?
Yes, lifestyle creep is caused by a number of things, but what it is it's when you keep spending more and more money. So 10 years ago, you were spending, let's say, $3,000 a month, and now you're spending $5,500 a month. How did it happen? Why is it that you're spending more? That's lifestyle creep. And there's a lot of things that will contribute to it. I think in the service, what I see a lot is I see that, hey, I deserve to make a purchase because we've gone through a hardship. Military life is all about enduring hardship and the needs of the service, and it's something that I think resonates with why we say thank you for your service. And why I hear that when people say all the vets stand and I stand up and well, thank you for your service. Well, I think what they're doing is they're saying you endured hardship and it was for good reasons. Well, what happens is that we often have a internal to our military culture a reaction to that, which is, and now I'm going to reward myself. Now I deserve this maybe new car or this vacation or something like that, and so these things, they can impact our overall lifestyle and they can change what we are spending and sometimes put us into a situation where we're spending more than we should. Lifestyle creep is terrible.
How does it impact a person's ability to build wealth?
Well, the main way it impacts it is that it takes away from a future you that you haven't even met yet. You're usually, especially in your audience, Lacey, the military mindset is a service mindset. How do I serve the people around me? I want to take care of my family. I want to take care of my unit. And so that mindset, that culture, it makes it easy to not take care of yourself. And that self that you haven't met yet is like the last person on the list, that 60-year-old you that you are going to become in many years from now. That's the last person that we think about, and it hurts them the most. Lifestyle creep is their biggest enemy.
What do you think about people paying themselves first? Putting a certain amount of money away each month for their savings for that future self. Yeah. How does that and lifestyle creep work together?
Well, so first of all, that is a trick. So one of the things in my book I talk about is pay yourself first is absolutely a trick. The bankers have tricked us. So let me walk through how that works. Let's take a service member and a spouse, and the service member is collecting a regular pay, but because of deployments, there's extra stipends that get added in. So the pay is not the exact same over a full 3 years. What's more is they get a couple promotions over that time. So those promotions happen and the pay goes up. So again, the pay is not the same over those years. And then the spouse, let's say, has a part-time job, and sometimes those hours are longer and sometimes they're shorter. Maybe there's a bonus here or there. And what we have here is we have a regular scenario where people don't collect the exact same amount of money every single paycheck. We just don't, and truly nobody does. It's not like you leave the service and you get a job somewhere else and suddenly it's the same every single paycheck. Nobody gets the same amount of money. If you look back over 3 to 5 years, we're all getting different amounts. And pay yourself first, it's that set it and forget it mindset. And it's a trick because you think that you're supposed to save a certain amount, you set it, and then you forget it. So now when you get your promotion, oh, well, I'm already saving. I've already saved. I set it, and now I can just forget about it. I don't have to save more because I'm already checking that box. I have my checklist, and that box is done. So the fact that my spouse did some extra hours and there's extra money in the account, or we did a garage sale and there's extra money in the account, or I got a gift for my birthday and there's extra money now in the account, all of that is available to be spent because of the pay yourself first mentality. And so it slips through your fingers. And there's this point where you look back over the last 5 years, 10 years, a lot of couples, they have this moment, they look back like, I thought we would have more. I thought that we would have more money. Where did it all go? And the reason it happened is because of pay yourself first. Set it and forget it does not work. It's a trick. And just like any illusion on a stage, Lacey, all you have to do is know where the mirror is, and suddenly the trick is garbage. Like you can't be fooled by it anymore, and you'll never be fooled by it again. And I think this one is exactly the same. The trick here is that the money goes into the checking account. That's the problem. Americans use their checking account for everything. When you think about Venmo, it's tied to the checking account. When you think about, when you're paying your bills or when you're receiving money from your pay, like when the government says, hey, you need to fill out a form to tell us where to send your pay. Okay, it goes to my checking account. It's all to the checking account. And this is a huge weakness. It's a big support of the set it and forget it illusion. What we should be doing is every single cent, no matter what, whether it's from a garage sale, a gift for your birthday, whether it was overtime, a bonus, some extra hazardous duty pay, whatever it is, it all goes to the savings account first. And then you truly set it and forget it. But you're not setting your savings, you're setting your lifestyle. We got tricked. The it is not the savings. The it is the lifestyle. And so you're moving this money from your savings over to your checking, and you control that. This is our lifestyle. This is what we spend, and we're not going to change this unless we have some kind of a family meeting and we agree, okay, now we're going to up our lifestyle because we're making more money. It makes more sense. But we set it, our lifestyle, and forget it.
I like that. What is the workaround, though, for maybe banks that limit how many times you can move money from a savings account? Or is it that you shouldn't be moving it that often?
Well, so usually a bank will permit you 1 or 2 transfers a month with no charge. I've never heard of a bank that won't permit that. So the idea here is if you collect your pay once a month, or if you're used to getting your pay twice a month, then that's what you would just do with your savings is all money goes into savings no matter what, and you just set up an automatic, hey, this is our lifestyle. We're spending $3,000 a month. We don't go above that. And it comes out, goes into checking, maybe $1,500 on day 1 and $1,500 on day 15 each month. And I have yet to come across a bank that says you cannot make 2 transfers a month. We're going to charge you for that. And if there was a bank that did charge, I think it'd be worth it to ask them for an exception to policy.
Yes, I really like that idea of reframing it because you're right. You should be setting your lifestyle, not your savings. And the savings is what should be being built up instead of your lifestyle. So that I think is so powerful for people to change their mindset in the way that you're looking at it. Just like you said, once you know the mirrors are there, it's like, oh, wait a minute. It's the same as a service member going to a car dealership and they ask them, how much are you looking to pay a month? Well, once you know that they can make the number magically appear to fit exactly what you said, they're just going to extend the life of that loan and you're going to be paying a lot more for it over the lifetime. But a lot of service members now know that. And so that trick is not working anymore.
You've got it. That's exactly right. Yeah, we're not naive like we used to be. With education, the industry has to raise their standards as they're interacting with us because we know those tricks. And how do we know them? We know them because we have a little bit more access to information than our grandparents did. Our grandparents were more easily fooled than we are. And I think that the next step is things like, let's get rid of these systemic biases like the quota and many more, or things like CPI, or set it and forget it. Look, save properly. Let's do this right.
What's your advice for married service members to adapt and overcome the challenge of and underemployment for the military spouse, which causes variable income for the couple that can have a negative impact on their ability to build wealth?
Well, I think one of the strengths of putting everything into savings first and then setting the lifestyle is that you have the ability to say to yourself, look, we know that we're moving a lot, and there's going to be this time frame where you're waiting to get a job while I'm on base, but you've got to find a job, and there's going to be a time where there isn't money coming in. Let's make sure that we're setting a lifestyle that fits that reality. We can decide and control what we spend. So let's fit that reality. And then what will happen is when you do find that work, that money will be extra, and it'll grow our savings. It's the easiest, fastest way to build up the emergency savings account. And then once we've got an emergency savings account built up, well, then we could choose to change our lifestyle, because the next time that there's a PCS transfer, you're at a new base, and your spouse has to wait a little while before he or she can find that next job, you've got your emergency savings all there ready to go. You've been through this, it takes a little while, but you can keep that new raised lifestyle in place, and and that's what that savings is for.
In your book, you talk about people being encouraged to buy. Can you touch on that? The encouragement, this illusion that you need to keep buying things.
Yes. Yeah, this is the growth mentality. It's the, hey, you buy it today, whether it's a gold coin, or it's a Bitcoin, or it's stamps or comic books, or a growth stock, or whatever it is, baseball cards. The point is that you buy it today, and the only way you make money is if you sell it later for more than you bought it. It's the only way you can make money. That means that someone else has to think that it's worth more than what you think it's worth. This is so hard to successfully do repetitively. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Of course it happens. People all the time succeed in the flip it, I buy it today and sell it tomorrow for a little bit more. It does happen, but it's very, very difficult. And for most people, they're good at, hey, I get up, I put on my uniform, I go to work, I deploy, I come back. My spouse, he or she's taking care of kids, or they've got their part-time job or their career off base, and putting in the energy and effort to really flip consistently over and over again. It's hard, and we're so encouraged to do it. There's a lot of ways that Wall Street and the IRS that they trick us into convincing us that it's wise to do it. But one of the easiest, most common ways that we fall into that trap is that we do it to ourselves. Is that we'll say, hey, my brother was telling me about how this is such a great stock and you've got to get in it today. But today it's amplified because of social media and because of we've got so much more information coming at us. And so you truly could open up your phone and get influenced by somebody that you don't even know, that's 3-4 people removed from you, and next thing you know, you think it's a great idea to buy something that really you just tied your money up, and hopefully you're going to find someone else who wants to buy it from you for more than you paid for it.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm guilty of it. I mean, Instagram alone, seeing something that somebody's selling that could be useful and they are influencing. If I hadn't opened Instagram and saw that, I probably never would have spent my money on that because I didn't think I needed or wanted it. But then I'm seeing it and it's like, this looks helpful, or if it's a new makeup product or something like that. So I think that definitely is an issue, especially in the military community, as it, everybody's on their phone. So I think that happens. I want to know, if you had an 18-year-old service member sitting in front of you right now who just joined the military, But I always say you should be planning your exit strategy as soon as you join, because one way or another you're leaving the military. What is your advice for them to set themselves up for financial success from day one for the day that they get out? What should they do?
Well, they've probably heard a lot of interesting ideas, and they usually, especially today, they might even be following some people through social media that are giving them ideas. The thing that I don't see anybody doing, and it's not just our 18-year-olds, it's our 48-year-olds, is they're not saving properly. And so I would do everything I could to get that 18-year-old service member to talk to the people around them that pay them money, whether it's their finance folks at the military, or it's parents and grandparents that send them gift cards or whatever, and make sure that it all goes to savings first. Get in the habit right now. Every cent you earn goes to your savings account first, and then you've got a specific stipend that you decided on because it made sense for you in your life that comes out of that savings account to your checking. And then you do what you normally do with checking. You pay your bills, you take care of your life, do the things that makes you comfortable and happy, and gives you the sense of fulfillment that is right for you. Some people want to be austere, and some people are crazy about FIRE, the financial independence, retire early. I know that on your show that has come up a few times, and I love that concept. But that goes the other way too. Some people want to live a little more luxurious. But the point is, do it right. Everything to savings first.
Yes, I love that. I also think that is very helpful for the irregular expenses people have that often blindside them, even though they shouldn't. Like, you don't get new tires all the time, but if you haven't saved for new tires and you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's going to be a huge hit. But if you are doing what you're saying, putting all your money into savings, that extra cash flow should be building up in there. So when it is time for that irregular expense, like vehicle registration or Christmas, which comes every year, by the way, just as a reminder, Christmas is coming. You should be saving for it. You're setting yourself up for success by reframing the way that you are handling your money.
I love that. And I bet that if an 18-year-old was listening to this right now, they would think to themselves, well, first of all, it's a personality. They're listening to this podcast. They're looking for information. So the next step, the logical next step after what you just said, Lacey, is, well, you know what? I need to make sure that when I'm building out my monthly budget, there's a line item in there for the unforeseen. There's a line item in there for, someone I know just had a death in the family and I need to send them flowers. I just had a flat tire. There's the unforeseen happens, and it does affect your finances, and there needs to be a line item for that. How much money do you allocate? It's totally up to each individual that's listening to this, but probably a good idea is look up the cost of a bouquet of flowers and at least that much every month, because that'll take care of a gift, that'll take care of, at least covering the beginning of an emergency, maybe taking care of a little bit of a deductible on a medical plan or a little bit of a deductible on an auto insurance plan. That's a great place to start.
I want to switch gears now and ask you a couple of quick random questions I ask everybody. First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life or work easier?
Well, I love podcasts as a medium. What an amazing tool. I feel like my life is so much enriched by the podcast. And one of the reasons why is because I think that news is radically different today than it was 20 years ago. And it's very difficult to find non-polarized news. And it's very difficult to find the nuance behind the news. Everything is broken down to sound bites now. And sound bites they're not the whole picture. There's nuance, there's complexity. And in this world that's so fast moving and so interesting, nuance is everything. And to me, the podcast medium, this is where you can truly learn things. And I feel a lot more capable because of the information that I receive through the long format of being able to talk and have a back and forth and to get reactions from smart people like you, Lacey, and to have that ability to hear that while I'm driving, or to hear that while I'm working out, or hear that while I'm walking the dog, or it's so convenient and it's so powerful. And I think that, to me, it is the resource that today I'm very, very grateful for.
I love that. Obviously, I'm biased, I'll admit, but I love that one. All right, what is your favorite book right now, or your favorite book of all time?
Well, I've got a number of books that I consider to be like required reading for all humans. I'm an author myself. I think reading and listening to audiobooks, I think that is an important part of being human. Almost like music and dance and art. These things make us, they fill in the gaps of that mission-oriented mentality. Get the job done. They really add in the spice that gives us the love of life. And so I guess if I had to narrow it down to one book, I could say the easy way out and say it's the book I'm currently reading. Any book that I'm currently reading, which right now I'm rereading The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Really good book. The Power of Habit is an excellent book for, especially for that 18-year-old that might be listening. It's a great story describing how we are in control of ourselves and how we can better control ourselves. But I think if I had to, give you a more honest answer, and not just the book I'm currently reading, The War of Art, written by a Marine Corps veteran. It's not The Art of War, which is the famous book that people might think of, but he flipped that title around a little bit, and it's called The War of Art, and it is about how important discipline is and what it really means to engage in the creation of something. Maybe you're creating a new SOP for the motor pool. Maybe you're creating a poetry book. Maybe you're creating anything that you have to put in your energy and make it real. This book is for you.
Ooh, I love that one. I've never read that, but I'm going to check that out because obviously I'm, again, interested in that. I do create for the podcast, for the website, other things. So I'll be sure to link to both of those books in the show notes for everybody.
Wonderful.
Now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. And in honor of your visit, we're going to play Is It a Stock? So
okay.
I'm going to give you 5 ticker symbols.
Yes.
And you have to tell me if they are a real company or they are a fake company. If you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the Military Money Show.
I want these bragging rights.
It's a big deal. It really is. I seriously want people to start putting on their LinkedIn account, but nobody's done it yet. All right. Number 1, AAPL. Is it a stock?
That is Apple stock.
Yes, that is correct. Number 2, UAA. Is that a stock?
Oh, man, I wanted to say that that's United Airlines, but I'm going to say it's not. That doesn't sound right to me.
It actually is a stock, but it's not United Airlines. It's Under Armour.
Oh, Under Armour. Okay.
Yes. Okay, number 3, JETZ. Is it a stock?
Jets. Well, I think there would be somebody that's clever out there that would love that symbol, but I'm not familiar with it, so I'm going to say not a stock. I'm getting this one wrong, maybe.
No, it is not a stock. That is a
good.
fake one. So you got that one right. Okay, number 4, KULR. Is that a stock?
KULR. Yeah, I've never seen that one before. I'm going to say it's not, but who knows?
You're correct. It is a fake stock. That is
Okay.
not real. Okay, number 5, TSLA. Is it a stock?
That is Tesla, and I bet a lot of people listening, they are, either they love it or they hate it. It's such a polarizing stock.
Yes. It is a real stock. So you definitely get bragging rights that you won game time on the Military Money Show.
2 thumbs up, and I will put it on LinkedIn. I'd love to be the first one.
Yes, do it. Well, it made me think about ticker symbols. How did that start? And I didn't realize it. I looked it up while I was making this game, and it had to do with telegraph lines. Like, that was how they could put the stock prices out in short form, and they could only be, I think they said 1 to 4 letters is the way it used to be to meet the needs of the telegraph to get that message across. So I didn't, in all of my money knowledge, I guess I could have deduced that on my own, but I didn't know that that's why they were like that in order to transmit how the company did that day.
That's
Did you already know
interesting.
that, Chris?
I did not. In fact, it makes me think of a story that I saw that said that our roads are affected by the width of the Roman chariot, and that the space shuttle was designed to be able to be traveled on roads, which means that the Roman chariot and the distance in the wheels that made the ruts in the road, that has slowly, decades, centuries, affected the width of cars and thoroughfares and even NASA engineers designing the space shuttle. Incredible.
Oh, wow. That is very interesting. But you're
Yeah,
right. I mean, especially with space shuttle, they have to be able to move that sucker. And if it doesn't
somehow.
fit on a road, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you playing the game and being on this show. Can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and what you're up to?
Yes, well, I'd love for them to check out my next book, Outsmart the Money Magicians. You could just Google that. I think at this point, just Google Money Magicians. McGraw-Hill is the publisher. I think they've published it because it is, it's a grassroots call for improvement in finance and Wall Street and the IRS, and so Outsmart the Money Magicians. And then if you'd like to reach out to me, you can easily find me on LinkedIn, Chris Manske, Manske. Thank you, Lacey.
Wonderful. I'll be sure to put links to that in the show notes for everybody. Thank you again, Chris.
Appreciate it.